Big announcement from Meta overhauling their approach to content moderation. Mark announced that the company is going to get back to its roots around free expression.
The idea that a centralized social network would be in the business of fact checking was always one of the most dangerous and worst ideas imaginable. It's just incredibly ill-advised because it's impossible to do well at scale.
In the speech, also, he claims we're going to do like what X is doing, and we're going to move everyone to Texas. It's just like pretty obvious. There's a road paved to Elon and Trump here.
You know, in the early days of Facebook, we were mostly focused on moderating things that were illegal, and it was a really gnarly job. I'm very surprised to find Mark on bended knee. I'd like to see a strong Mark Zuckerberg in the face of a strong Donald Trump.
Why are men not allowed to moderate on this podcast?
The more important question is why you are not allowed to moderate, Sam. Happy New Year, friends. Welcome back to More or Less. It's 2025. Woohoo!
Hey, guys.
Dave, can we talk about your hair? I like it.
He has hair,
Thanks.
is the first thing to say.
Got a little product.
No, it's just that he's not wearing hats anymore.
It's a 2025 hair look. It's like you look like
Didn't wear a hat.
you look like an anime character.
All right, cool.
I love it. I like the green. Brit, the blonde's holding up.
Sort of. I need a touch-up soon.
We've covered all our bases.
Yeah, thanks.
Talk about hair.
Okay. Well, obviously, hair is not the most important thing. We are but 1 week into this year. And should we say there's been seismic news in the technology business? What do we think? What level are we at
I
here?
don't think it's seismic.
Okay. No seismic. What do you
It's
think?
been a stressful week, you guys.
Ton of headlines.
There's a lot going
This
on.
is headlines. Unless you're talking about LA. LA is really sad. That's seismic, but I don't
Yeah.
know that any of the tech news is that interesting.
CES, Zuckerberg. No tsunamis in San Francisco yet.
Has there been an earthquake?
There's a massive fire, Sam.
No, but that's not seismic. That's something else.
Many of your friends had to leave their houses.
That's Pyric, not seismic.
All right, fair.
Okay, but in tech news, what do we care about? We care about
Tech news.
really like the political transition is on its way, right, Jess?
Yes. I mean, I think we've got to dig in and really talk about, we're starting to see Silicon Valley's approach to the Trump administration. And really, I think in general,
Approach.
I don't know. Silicon Valley, how
like-
Silicon Valley?
More like bended knee.
No.
Well,
no.
but I think it's more complicated. Okay, we're going to get into that. But first, I do notice none of you are at CES. What's going on?
What's CES?
The Consumer Electronics Show.
Does that still go on?
I haven't been to CES since 2010.
I saw someone post on the internet proudly that this was like their 20th CES, and I was trying to do the math. I was like, you've spent what, 40 to 60 days of your life at CES? That sounds awful.
That's too many days in Vegas in general.
I think our listeners know that the Consumer Electronics Show held in Vegas every January is a massive, massive, massive industry trade show that has also had, fun networky aspects as a conference over the years. But I take it as one of my proudest achievements that I now have a company big enough that other people on our team enjoy going to CES and I don't have to.
To me, CES is an extremely mid-wit event, right? Like it's just for like the midwits,
What's a
who like
What is a
Midwit.
midwit, Sam?
a midwit is there like the like the little chart with like idiots and then the midwits and the smart people. It's like the mid.
my God.
Oh, that's a little harsh.
It's a midwit conference.
Anyone listening that went to CES this week is very offended.
There are also great parties at CES. Great people go. Good Rupert Murdoch sightings over the years. So, okay, a lot of business gets done too. But
Nvidia is like the headline. They're big companies. They're not just
What
midwits.
isn't Nvidia the headline of?
I know. But actually, the keynote so let's talk about that and then we'll talk on bigger topics. But Jensen Huang, CEO of Nvidia, gave a keynote. These keynotes, by the way, I mean, you have to wait 3 hours in line even to get into the keynote,
What?
which is live streamed. So,
Yeah, that's a very midwit behavior to wait 3 hours in line to get into a thing you can live stream.
yeah.
Fair. I give Sam 1 point. Sam, you get 1 point so far.
That is the definition of being a midwit.
Okay. obviously a lot of discussion of robots, the Morans, your favorite topic. Is this going to be the year you're even more long robot in 2025?
I don't know. The best robot that I saw was basically a Roomba with an arm that comes off of it to pick up your socks off of your floor. And that doesn't feel like the robot breakthrough I'm looking for.
No, the mirror, the health mirror is way cooler, Dave. I think the mirror that can do your body weight, all your
Are we doing mirrors again?
Sam, it's like 2015 called and wants its inventions back.
No, this one looks even cooler than that mirror because it has a scale integrated, all your like quantitative body analysis scores. Everything's just right there for you. Although it did say it was like a prototype.
Why
You
is
say
that a
mirror,
robot?
mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? That's like, I've seen this. It's like, you are not the fairest.
Sam, out of all of us on this pod, you're the most likely to buy this thing. You're the most obsessed with the body like analysis. So
You know what I would want?
It's probably on its way.
What I would want is a motivational mirror. You like stand in front of me like, you're fucking awesome. You're great.
You're fucking awesome, Sam. Eat more peptides.
Look at those abs.
I think that's just one software update away. I think it's gonna happen.
It's like that's when they realize that's what they realize. That's how you sell mirrors, is you make it like you are the fairest of them all.
A motivational mirror is an actual good product.
Yeah, there you go. Motivational mirror. Someone build it. You know that robot that picks up your sock? That's not actually what it does.
What does it do?
It basically just maps your house so that when people invade the country, they'll know where like the kitchen is. Right. The stock picking up is just a cover story.
That's amazing.
We had a story out of CS that
Geopolitics
there's a lot of
makes it
Chinese
into the
companies
intro.
that still made it to CES. I just have to say, like, I have heard people celebrating and screaming on other podcasts about how great these robots are. I have gotten demos of these exact robots and they like can barely walk. So I think
the robots
that
aren't here yet.
We are.
They are. They're just in military robots. They have C4 attached to them.
If I was to finish my sentence, Sam, I was going to say they're not here yet unless it's war. You know, they're definitely there, but they're not in our homes.
Yeah. It's like any war where like wars spur the innovation and then 20 years later, the thing will pick up your socks well. But like right now we're in the C4 era.
Guys, I saw a Waymo on 101 and I just thought, can it be true?
Yes, it's
and
really?
I couldn't tell if it obviously was like a test drive. I mean, they're not going on highways
Employees
out
can use
here.
it. Yeah.
But my heart fluttered
It's happening.
and I thought, could this be around the corner?
Yeah. And the Zuck's taxis were on display at CES too. So those like more robotic cars for sure by end of 2025.
I can't wait until they're all robotic cars and I can take my Miata and just hit the accelerator and they'll all just get out of the way. Right? Because they don't want to crash.
Oh my
so it's
God.
going to be incredible to be a human
How
driver.
to throw the Miata in there, Sam.
Somebody did ask me an interesting question on this front yesterday, which is, will our kids know or care about what a steering wheel is?
Absolutely. I will tell you, our 5-year-old will rip a go-kart at pretty high speeds. He loves the steering wheel.
Yeah, our kids, but not their kids.
But our 7-year-old did ask me why Waymos had steering wheels. And so I think that's right, Dave. I think that's
It reminds me of these tests we used to do at Apple, and kids would look at a TV and wonder where the mouse was. And it's like the same thing happening now. And I actually hadn't thought of it through that lens, but it might be true that maybe it's not our kids, but like kids being born today, a steering wheel might seem like a strange interface.
Fun fact, as of January 1st, the new generation is called Generation Beta. So we're already into a new generation.
Wow.
So Gen Alphas are all born. Now we're in Gen Beta.
Do you want to be a beta? I don't know.
Are the beta? Are they all going to be beta men? It's like the entire generation of beta men.
No, Sam, because all I did was spend my holiday listening to kids talk about how Sigma they are.
Ooh,
What
that?
does that mean?
Oh, it means you're the greatest.
That's the new way of saying cool, as near as I can tell. Yeah.
So it's no longer looking for Riz and Tiz, it's looking for Sigma and Tiz.
No, it's Riz and Sigma. Yeah.
Sigma Sam could be a good catchphrase for you.
No. Tiz is autism.
What?
Oh, I see.
So it's Sigma and Tiz.
Okay, Jess, bring us back.
You know, you
Bring
live
us
in
back,
Silicon
Jess.
Valley
No,
when.
I actually want to see where this goes, and then we'll end it. You guys figured it all out. You know what you're doing? Okay.
All right, let's get
For
Sigma's
into it.
2025, I'm looking for founders with Sigma and Tiz.
Okay. It doesn't have the same ring.
I'll go with Sigma and Riz. Yeah.
But Sigma and Riz is the same thing. You don't want those people. They're
No,
going to
they're
be
not
terrible.
the same. Not the same.
Oh,
You
God.
guys Dave, you can get those founders. Sam can get the other ones, and we'll cover the universe.
We're
Oh, yeah,
good.
we'll see how the
Send
funds
me the
perform.
tiz. Send me the tiz. I'm all about the tiz.
Okay, speaking of founders, so here in the technology industry, the big news this week was a big announcement from Meta overhauling their approach to content moderation. I'm sure all our listeners read a million articles about it, but the point being, Mark announced that the company is significantly dismantling basically the approach to content moderation it had been taking, which was, in his words, filtering out too much content and making too many mistakes, that the company was going to get back to its roots around free expression. And a couple of announcements, one be using community notes, drawing from X, which is basically where people can comment to verify or fact check things instead of professional fact checkers. And there are many other components to it, but big headline instantly. Well, there's a lot to react to. Sam, I'm going to start with you because you worked on some of this stuff and have a lot of views on it. So give us your hot takes, and then we'll get them from the panel. And
Can I
take it from
can
there.
I sing my hot takes?
Please don't.
Oh.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch, old witch. Look,
Oh
here's
my
the
God.
Let
What the
let
heck
Sam
is
be
going
the
on?
ever
Here's-
meta optimist that he is.
Oh, yeah.
Look, here's the deal. Here, a few points of facts on this. One is, thank God, right? This the
That's not a point of fact, but yes, it's an opinion.
No point
Okay.
of fact.
No facts in that
It is a
statement.
point of fact, Sam's opinion, Jess.
Correct. I just wanted to be clear. Fact checking over here. Legacy media.
the idea that a centralized platform, a centralized social network, would be in the business of fact checking was always one of the most dangerous and worst ideas imaginable. And I was very unhappy when the company went in that direction over time, because it's not complicated. It's just incredibly ill-advised because it's impossible to do well at scale. It is incredibly dangerous. It's a classic if you give a mouse a cookie problem, which is once you set up the infrastructure to do it, you do more and more. You get more and more pressure to do it in different places. And AI would have been a disaster there. And also, my biggest thing on this is it's a complete misdirection and focus to moderate content and feeds. Most of the action is in private messaging, which is broadly not content moderated broadly. And we can get into the details there. And by moderating feeds and not moderating messaging, which is where the action is, because you can see the feed, so people see things, they want to moderate them, they want to control them, you just push all the worst behavior out of public and into private, where it's even more dangerous and just as viral in a frictionless environment. So the whole pattern of moderation, I understand why it happened. I understand we got there, but like, it was bad. And I'll be honest, like, I think, in the Facebook Meta bull case, I give Mark incredible credit for seizing the moment to roll this back, because I was always worried this would be a one-way door, that you would open this and it'd be impossible to ever pull it back. And you can say, oh, this is, kowtowing to their, whatever, to the administration or the moment. I actually look at it differently, which is, I actually think from a first principles perspective, this is the right thing to do, and it has been for a long time. It was a mistake to go down moderation in the first place. And this is an incredibly opportunistic moment where, oh my God, it's actually possible to pull it back. So there's a whole bunch of product questions that come out of this that I think are the right ones, which is, in the modern world, everything is a claim. You can't trust what anyone's saying. What you do have to focus on is who's saying it and why, which is why identity is such a huge problem. The internet was born without it for good reasons, sort of, but like, we need strong identity to know what to trust. There's a lot of things but directionally, I am very happy that Mark has seized the moment.
Okay, Brit, you.
Would this really have happened if Kamala was elected president? Is my first
No,
question.
because you wouldn't have had the opening to it, but it's not that 100% not right.
Opening.
We're gonna try round robin, and then we're gonna pick up the points. I want everyone to get their microphones.
Okay. First of all, that's my first question. Just wanted to, point out in the speech also, he claims we're going to do like what X is doing because they've had a great community note system. And then the last thing is, and we're going to move everyone to Texas. It's just like pretty obvious.
That was hilarious. That was the funniest part.
There's
of
a
it.
road paved to Elon and Trump here that is like part of this whole thing. So like, to me, it overshadows everything that this is done with weird timing. There's like false incentives. I have so many questions about how community moderators are going to become moderators, who's approving those people, how are they going to moderate things? Like there's so
Good
much
questions.
content that is going to emerge out with AI. Like I just find it implausible that this is going to work well. And I know that, even if 1% of content gets falsely moderated by all these systems that were set up, I'm not sure that the community moderation is going to prove to be much better. So I'm a little bit dubious about the outcome here, and especially dubious about the timing.
And Brit's more moderation. Okay, Dave, over to you.
I think that this is actually a return. I think Mark's taking the opportunity here to return to his original values to some extent. I worked with Mark, for the first many years of Facebook, and I can say that the message that he said yesterday actually made me think a lot about conversations that we had back in the old days. From the very beginning of Facebook, he was always focused on giving people a voice. And in the early days, the internet was a very editorialized place, right? Like the everyday citizen didn't have much of a voice in the world. To get a message out there, you had to get it on one of the big news channels. You had to get it on MTV. You had to get it on, one of the big distribution outlets, right, to get your voice out there. And in the early days, we talked a lot about this, that the world would be a better place if everybody had a voice. And so I think it's an interesting thing I was actually listening yesterday and was almost confused because I thought that this was the mission all along. And I think you all are making a good point that mission got really, I think, cloudy and confused over, I guess, like the last almost 10 years. It kind of started in 2015, 2016, I guess.
I think earlier.
Yeah, maybe it was slightly earlier than that. Even back, I guess, I was working on Path between 2020 and 2015. And there was a lot of kind of debate around how you would do this kind of moderation and how do you deal with moderation. And, in the early days of Facebook, we were mostly focused on moderating things that were illegal. And it was a really gnarly job. I actually don't wish that upon anyone. The kind of stuff that you see moderating social networks at whatever scale is like really sad and disgusting, terrible, like the most inhumane parts of society. And so we were very focused on that. And I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't know how hard it was to work on this as the things got bigger. But one thing that comes to mind as all this is playing out is when I was still at Facebook, we made this decision to translate the site using the people in all of the local regions that knew the language, knew what to translate it. And we basically turned the interface into a giant wiki that enabled anybody in the world to translate the interface into their local language. And it made it so that we could translate far faster than if we had tried to hire people to do the same thing, right? Like if we had tried to hire people to do the same thing, it would have taken forever. And it would have taken an infinite number of people to do it. We'd have to hire people in every single country. And so when you look at what happened with community notes and the change, I guess, that Mark's making here, it makes sense to me that it is much more powerful to put this in the hands of the users and build a system that can kind of incentivize things in the right direction. It stands to reason that it's possible. That's what I would say technically about the whole thing. Politically, I'm very surprised to find Mark on bended knee at this moment. I think I very much look up to Mark's leadership. I think he transcends national boundaries. I think that he's a leader on a global scale, almost on the scale of the American president. And so I kind of find it interesting to see this happening at this moment. Now, I'm not, playing at that level. And I'm sure there's plenty of, important things that this relates to that none of us are ever going to know anything about. But I hope that this is some kind of a negotiation, I guess, where, Mark is getting the business objectives out of this that he needs to get. Maybe it relates to TikTok and, a negotiation over whether or not TikTok gets banned in the United States. I could see that having a component of this. But I don't know. I'd like to see a strong Mark Zuckerberg in the face of a strong Donald Trump, because I kind of think we don't have very many counterbalances. And so That's one of the things that I'm wondering about here.
Well, Dave, and I'm going to jump in here. First of all, I actually think it has nothing to do with TikTok. Just to be clear, I actually think it's fascinating. But I think it clearly Meta and Amazon and Apple, to a lesser degree, Google, definitely Empire Elon are all quite in alignment with Trump, right? And I think like have decided to really like lean in every way to this administration, from like, you know, the money they're giving the inaugural and so on and so forth. And I think, well, you can expect some of that. Like it has definitely been surprising how quickly everyone has taken that, and time will tell, right? I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with a lighter touch for regulation that they're all really expecting. And really like only time will tell. But I mean, we saw Amazon buy a Melania documentary this week.
Oh my God,
which,
really?
Again, Hollywood liberal bastion that it is, you know, has not touched, you know, such things for a decade, right? And so, yeah, it's a fascinating moment. And to me, listening to Mark's video announcing these changes, the number of times he mentioned, it seems like this is where the political will is going. It seems like this is what voters are saying, you know, issues like gender identity, where in the past platforms, and I don't know the specific policy of each platform, but we had a great story months ago about how TikTok was rolling back some of its changes, and things that had been treated as hate speech around gender identity were no longer being treated as hate speech. And so Mark also brought up gender identity as an example of where they were going to roll back some things. And I thought,
I actually didn't understand that point. Did you understand that point? It wasn't clear to me.
I think I'm only projecting what we know happened at TikTok. And for example, I believe like if you had, there was a period on these platforms where if you did not refer to someone by their intended pronoun, that was a potentially triggering action.
Oh,
I think in TikTok's case, I don't know that was Meta's policy.
Now I understand why that content's always getting flagged.
well, it makes sense. It's that's a communist system, right?
But one more point, and then I'll pass it to Sam. Like, you know, but a few months ago, all these platforms were announcing they were getting out of politics with it. You know, it was like they thought they had finally risen above it.
Yeah, that's what's a little bit strange about this.
And now to hear, I mean, this just shows, and maybe it's a fact, I mean, everything is political in this moment across society. So it is broader, but to be folding in justification, I do believe this is what Mark has always wanted to do, but he is seizing a moment, and to be referencing so overtly politics. I mean, Brit, your point about Texas. So Meta is moving its content moderators from California to Texas.
Were they even here? Does Meta doesn't even have an office right now?
I think they use a lot of outsourced like consultants.
It's all Accenture.
That's what I was going to say. It's like they're not in California. It's so overtly political. Come on.
I was surprised that Accenture stock didn't tank on this news.
Nobody knows, Sam.
Also, if they're in Austin, there's no difference. So but like, what a funny thing. Anyway.
Careful, you're talking about Brit's hometown there, Jess.
Well, yeah.
Look, here's the thing I just keep in mind. To me, I just keep in mind, like, I don't, from a first principles perspective, I love this stuff. Like, this is exactly the right move. I'm thrilled that the one-way door wasn't a one-way door. And I just don't want...
I'm surprised you thought it was a one-way door, Sam. You know that Mark's
like,
stronger than that.
Once you build the machine to be able to do things, regulators make you do them, and there's public pressure. I mean,
but nobody understands how these systems work. Like, that's like part of the thing here. Nobody knows how any of this stuff works.
One of my core philosophies of product management is what I call if you give a mouse a cookie, based on the wonderful children's book.
Yes, we're familiar.
The reality is if you give the mouse the cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk, right? It's like very hard to roll back to take away the cookie, right? And people love the cookie. So I think it's a great move from a first principles perspective. Now, my basic view on this is like, look, if you have the opening to make the move, great. Do you throw Trump and Elon a bone? Like, it's kind of costless to do so. So why not? Right? Is almost the way I look at it. Right? It's like this is now I know you can take more harsh interpretations of this and kneeling. I just look at it as like, look, we want to do this thing. There's an opening to do it.
It's not entirely costless, or is it de minimisly? Like, what are the economics of this move? That's one of the things I was trying to think through.
Massively profitable to not have content.
Well,
moderators.
it generates a ton more content that you have to deal with, right?
Also, advertisers could decide it could hurt the advertising business. It may not, but it could.
I don't think it will.
I think it probably won't, because I think they've probably done the calculation. It won't, but
And they'll just change things for the advertisers anyway. That's their business.
So does this also mean that Sam's going to see more things with like boobs and sex in his feed because it's not moderated?
Yeah, does Sam get more porn? That's really all that matters.
Listen, the second it happened, I texted unknown people. I said, "Free the nip," right? It's like, if this is
That's what I was wondering, because I know people that have to spell sex SECS, like that are like actual like sex therapists and things like that.
okay,
And like,
let's for a second. And I think there's a lot that's right about this, because I have written for years columns saying that the platform shouldn't be the arbiters of truth and so on and so forth.
And they shouldn't also be the arbiters of like no political content. Like, that's ridiculous. Just do your job, deliver the content people want.
That was their own decision. That wasn't the arbiters that kicked off the political content. That was Mark.
But that's the cookie thing. You shouldn't have that power.
But here's, just because I think it's intellectually important to do this, like, what could go wrong? So, for example, and we kind of have a case study in X, a little bit, although not at the same scale by any means. So people concerned about this, rightly, are thinking about what happens with the conspiracy theory that actually goes wild and hurts people, or what. Like, clearly the platform is still going to moderate illegal types of content and that kind of stuff. So it's not planning to be overrun with that. But we do actually have a very severe misinformation problem in society. Now, you can say it's not Meta's role to fix it, and I might agree with that, but shouldn't we be talking about what happens when, anything bogus can just spread like wildfire in potentially damaging ways?
Here's it's all about identity, right? The idea that you can trust something because it's on the internet should be long over by everyone. You shouldn't trust anything on the internet by default, right? And the problem I do think X has this problem, I think Facebook has this problem, is if you don't moderate, you put more and more pressure on having real identity in a way that can be like, oh, that's this person, and like, I trust this person, networks of trust. Like, that's the only solution. And so, it's interesting. One of my favorite, I read this book a while ago, I'll have to find it for the show notes, on a history of like scams in America. And it is interesting. About 100 years ago, there was this philosophy, which is that the government should not regulate scams, and people should be because, and there was actually a philosophy to this, it's like people should be trained to be on the lookout. They shouldn't believe someone's out there looking out for them, right, to make sure everything's okay. And like, they should actually be able to make their own judgments and like have their own networks of trust. Now, I think the internet is massively complicating because of the scale, because of interference and Russia. Like, we can go down the lines of why it's complicating. It's also complicating because there's a lot of types of content, like entertainment, where you actually don't care where it's from. Like, funny is funny. It doesn't matter, right? And so there are places where like identity, but when it comes to things you have to trust, you should not be relying on, some 10,000 pound gorilla mashing around trying to understand truth at the platform level. You should be like, yeah, by default, trust nothing. Verify, right? Like, and build networks of trust, right? But that is all contingent on strong identity.
but that's going to take a while for the average user to be educated to do that. I mean, I think that'll take years for like even our children to grow up to learn how to do this. And
But
so
doesn't AI, I mean, isn't everyone like, oh, it's just AI? Like, I feel like we're like, people are learning fast.
I don't know, didn't Meta just like cancel all their AI bot account or their AI character avatar accounts
Because they were bad. Because no one wants to talk to like a fake Snoop Dogg.
I don't know. I mean, Jess, I think my answer to your question is that look, I think that all of these platforms are likely working on their algorithms, like their feed algorithms every single day. So I don't want to say something here which suggests that they're not. But I do think that there has not been a lot of real innovation in feed algorithm stuff for years. Like, most of the platforms have been kind of doing the same thing for years and years, marginal tweaks here and there. This thing that we're talking about right now, which is this like fact checking apparatus that emerged out of the last 10 years was like kind of the biggest thing in feed moderation stuff, algorithm stuff that's happened. Maybe other than Elon buying Twitter and just radically kind of overhauling their feed. And so I guess one of the hopes here is that they invest more in their feed and making it healthier for people, right? And freedom of speech is not the same as freedom of reach, as we like to say, right? Like the feed does decide of the content, of the trillions of pieces of content out there, what's going to show up in my Instagram feed today or my Facebook feed, like, is a really important question.
See, I thought you were going somewhere else with that, Dave, because I thought you were going, so if we look at X, which clearly this move is inspired by, embrace free expression, embrace dialing the algorithm to promote the things that they're interested in, aka our house ad Elon.
Well, I don't think that's not what I'm saying. I think that we can expect Meta. I never call it Meta. I always forget. I think we can expect Meta to be better at this. Like I think Meta was spending like as much on this content moderation stuff as like Twitter's entire market cap, right?
Yeah, probably.
And I think that Meta has many more years of sophistication of thinking about these things. Do I think that Meta could do a better job today of delivering feeds that are higher quality? Yes, absolutely. Like it seems unequivocal. There's like no one I talk to right now that's happy with their feed, right? And one of my favorite tweets of the whole break was, of all people, Sam Altman saying algorithmic feeds are the first at-scale misaligned AIs. And like, I couldn't agree more, right? Like we still haven't really figured out how to align a feed with true health for people.
People don't want true health.
Yeah, that's the problem, Dave. What's the objective, right?
They want Doritos and bikini pictures. They don't want true health.
Well, I don't know.
I actually think AI is incredibly aligned with what people actually want, not what they say they want.
Well, it's not what I want.
I think that there is a real question here. Like it is one thing entirely to talk about what is posted into the system, right? Sam, you're right. Like all the identities that are posting these things. Can I trust these identities? Where did this content come from? That's all fine and dandy to chat about. And that's what everybody's talking about today. But we're still kind of not talking about in a sophisticated way what these feeds are delivering to your screen and why. And that's a totally different question that, we haven't developed a societal framework for talking about.
Well, every few years we have arguments about algorithmic transparency, right? And the irony is with AI, we're moving further away from that, not closer to it, because we can't even describe, right, why the AIs are doing what they're doing.
It's not even clear what I'm asking for here. It's just a conversation about how these systems work.
Well, I also think Sam makes an interesting point about messaging that I hadn't quite thought of in light of this announcement, just given how so much of the activity has shifted to private messaging groups too. Like, is this a little bit, feeds are obviously still important, but
feeds are incredibly important, but I think the whole idea, moderation was always performative, right? And I do really think that it's impossible to write this history clearly, but I think the story of when someone does their good PhD on this in 50 years of, we thought we were content moderating and that was positive, but actually all we did was take what we could have seen and push it into the shadows where we can't see it. It's all the same stuff. And it's actually worse because we don't even know what's going on, is like likely what happened over the last bunch of years. Right. So it's just, I don't know.
How does this change this though, Sam? Because the feed is still the arbiter of what moves around, right? So it doesn't matter whether you can say anything into the system if the system's not distributing it around.
Well, I'm not sure. And this is a topic for maybe a Sam on Dave one-on-one spinoff.
Oh, what would we call that?
Sam v. Dave. Dave v. Sam.
This is because our 7-year-old is like keeps reading like Plants v. Zombies.
Sidebar. We could call it sidebar.
Ooh, I like it.
Sidebar is good. Okay, finish your point, and I have something to say, and then unfortunately I'm gonna have to turn this episode over to you guys.
I'm not sure that the whole like freedom of reach versus freedom of speech is the right framing. I do think that there's the question of why am I seeing what I'm seeing and can I tune how I want, which comes up every 5 years as like in a cycle of people caring about this is a real question. What is my index into the content and who controls that? Because right now the Elon index is very clearly half of the posts will be from Elon, right? Which, by the way, he owns it. Good for him.
Yeah. He bought $40 billion in house ads for himself so he could buy America. Yeah.
Genius. A couple other thoughts here. So obviously, like the how we got here was a story of government regulation too, but I think also, when we look back on this, the big post-COVID layoffs, I think were a real moment where, I mean, there are very vocal groups of employees inside all of these companies who were pushing for this. And also a lot of outlets that wanted to pounce on every example, every media outlets to like make an issue out of this. And it's interesting, Mark also came out swinging against the legacy media, of course. I think it just shows how much has changed and how there's a shift really across the valley of executives and leaders who, remember when there was a protest a week inside of Google over whether they were going to sell technology to the government, right? And all of that. And really, if you look at it, the kind of aggressive layoffs post-COVID, which by the way, were also spurred by Elon, when Elon fired 70%, right? Firing 20 or 30 or 10 didn't look so bad. And so anyway, I think there is a lot building to this, not to discount the favor it curries with the administration and what it signals about priorities there, but I think you can really trace it going back. And I think it is going to be very interesting to watch. I mean, the other thing though is, and I was texting a source in New York because I feel like I need the East Coast perspective on this. And I'm like, what are people saying out there? And they're saying it'll swing back. And this is going to be life under the Trump administration and, Trump-like administrations, but it always swings back.
It's going to swing back into platform moderation? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
politics will swing.
Okay,
right?
politics will
Eventually,
swing.
Politics will swing, and who knows when, but it will.
That's why I got to delete the code now. I mean, like, I agree with this, by the way. Like, my big concern is that we're in like an escalating pendulum situation where like we swung further right. Next, we're going to like go crazy. The other day says like Bitcoin, crypto, great now. Like, wait till someone comes in who's angry, right? Like, that's how the guillotines come out, right? Is not this swing. It's the next swing back.
Ugh.
Meaning 4 years from now or 8 years from now?
Whenever it happens.
Who knows? It's hard to predict, but it will happen. I am going to turn over the moderating mic, Brit. Unfortunately, I have to bounce, but you guys have great stuff to discuss. I would also love I'd love listening. If you have any resolutions, new year, any new tech resolutions.
Why are men not allowed to moderate on this podcast?
I don't think you and Dave keep it. You don't keep it tight.
The more important question is why you are not allowed to moderate, Sam. Dave can happily get the mic.
Dave just can't keep it tight enough. So the women have to do this.
If you give a mouse a cookie, if you give Sam a microphone, ...
Oh, God.
If you give Sam protein, I'm going to want more protein.
Okay, keep it going.
I feel like I just turned into the sidebar moderator right now. This is sort of exciting and also scary.
Here we go.
What else is going on in the tech world that you're excited about, Sam? Anything else? News of the week?
No, my only other news of the week is I took a very depressing DEXA scan. So, I did all this running.
Oh, no.
And it has made me less fit.
Oh, no. What?
Yep.
I saw this, actually. I had a little chuckle.
I went from a biological age of 28 to 30. I lost 4 pounds of muscle mass and gained almost a half a pound of fat. And it's all because I went for that 3-hour marathon. So now I got to work it back.
That's strange. Explain this to those of us that are not as sophisticated.
I shredded my poor muscles in favor of speed.
Yeah, his muscles deteriorated because he was overrunning. So now he needs to cut back on the cardio and increase the strength training. And 1 gram of protein for every pound of weight.
Oh, I already do that. For sure. I love my protein.
You got your David's protein bars.
I am such a good David's customer. They now send me the freebies. I just got a whole new set of flavors.
There you go. Dave, anything else in the tech world inspiring you this week?
No, I think that the thing that has been captivating me and I think everybody, sadly, is this LA situation. And I just, we have a lot of founders. We have founders whose houses burned down. We have friends and LPs whose houses are under threat. It's just kind of terrible to see what's going on down there. So that's like the first thing that comes to mind.
Do you think there's a glass half full moment in this, given that LA is hub of, meaning like, will we do more from the tech community, from the celebrity community to really like impact climate change, fireproofing, disaster relief, donations.
Or just like people drop some regulations and build some shit.
I mean, Brit, you know this. My stepbrother was a forest fire chief for 30 years. He just retired. It is kind of funny to watch all of the tech, armchair quarterbacking, like what it takes to fight forest fires, and basically nothing anybody is saying is right. And so I don't know what to do. I think there's like a lot of what seems one of the main problems is we just like living in trees. And that is a serious problem for being able to fight this stuff. People don't want to get rid of the nature around their homes.
This is like the anti-decarbonization, which is we need to kill all the trees because they cause fires.
Yeah.
Sam, are you investing in any climate tech related stuff these days?
No, because I like making money.
You don't think that any climate tech companies will make money?
No. I mean, look, the answer is we every once in a while look at. We actually, our mutual friend and my partner Will Quist found a pretty cool firefighting company he's excited about which I guess I shouldn't talk about because I don't really know the state of it. But like, there is some cool stuff going on. But climate tech is so hard to make money in, and we're primarily focused on money making.
That seems like a good priority as a venture capital fund. So I agree with you there. What about robots, you guys? So any exciting news out of CES other than the vacuum that you guys saw?
Yeah, there was one thing which Nvidia announced, which was I think they call it Mega Omniverse. It's quite the name, which I was kind of excited about. You can build. It looks to me like a tool for building digital twins of a factory, of like a multi-stage robotics. You can actually build out an entire like a whole factory as a digital twin, and then simulate what that will do to produce your product or whatever it is that you're using robotics to automate. And it's one of the first tools like this available, and that seems exciting, and might enable a new era of industrial AI, robot simulation, factories, warehouses, these types of things.
Look, I think the Nvidia story, which is fascinating, is you have a $3 trillion company that's trying to crawl up the value chain because fundamentally what they currently do will get commoditized, right? And they know that, and we know that. And then whether it's robots or data centers or whatever, they need a new business model, right? And so it's interesting to watch, again, such an incredible current profit machine, right, with basically unlimited money and like in a really interesting position, be like, oh shit, we need a new business model, and like try to launch stuff and try to figure out. And again, to do that at 3 trillion scale is really hard, right? Because you need something that's like, to make number go up, you need some epic wins, right? And that forces you into like some very narrow categories. Like robotics, why? Because in theory, it's an enormous business. In theory, you have some leverage on it, right? Great. You got to have a robotic story. You got to have a factory story, American dynamism, whatever. Like, it's just really interesting to watch kind of that all play out from my perspective. And we'll see. I mean, I'm obviously inherently skeptical that they'll pull it off, but it's a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think they also announced I guess it's a $3,000 personal AI supercomputer.
Yeah,
called Digits.
I loved the memes about it. Did you see all the memes? People were like, but
no,
that means I can. People were like, great, I can finally run Microsoft Word with track comments on, or like, how many Chrome tabs can I have open?
Is it really like a personal computer, or is this like a developer tool? Like I mean, it's mismarketed, right? Like, and then what's the TAM of the developers that will potentially buy this? I'm not really understanding the strategy here.
Well, I could imagine a future where, for all sorts of reasons, you want an LLM running in your house, like some decentralized future.
Yeah, sure.
Of AI. Why not?
Still, that feels like more enterprisey.
I don't know. Would you rather have one of those or a Vision Pro? They're about the same price.
I'd rather had a humanoid robot cleaning up my shit all over my house. Do those need to run on an Nvidia computer?
They might, actually.
I know. I'm just saying.
How will it know where to put your socks without an LLM?
This podcast has gone off the rails.
We're gonna wrap it up, I think, soon. Okay. We're gonna end with a little pop culture corner. First of all, Sam, tell me about any pop culture news that you've tracked over the last 2 weeks.
I've tracked no pop culture. Oh, no, here's my closest thing to pop culture.
You have one?
Well, I'm really in. Vuori is over, guys.
It is?
Why?
Florence Marine, man.
What is Florence Marine?
So Jess will correct me because I'm going to get the details wrong. I'm not a details guy. But there's a surfer who she loves. John? I believe it's John. She'll correct me. Who has a brand called Florence.
I've seen this brand. Yeah.
It's great. I'm wearing it now. Their shorts, I think, are much better. They're the new Vuori short for men.
Are they soft?
No, but we're past the soft era. I feel like all the high-end clothes have gotten scruffy, but they're very good. I quite like them.
Pendulum swung back.
Yeah, exactly. The fashion pendulum has swung towards burlap.
Cargo shorts and burlap. I'm looking at their website. I'm not sure I'm ready to call it the new Vuori, but I like that you're tracking it. And
well, at some point, Vuori's going to run out of customer acquisition dollars to, keep buying their way into the market.
I mean, look, I love a soft Vuori. I'm just telling you that Florence Marine is the future.
They do have those cool hooded sun shirt things.
Oh, with the pull-up face mask, like the real ones for sun protection.
Those are good. I
Yeah.
like those. Sam, no TV, nothing?
Why would I care about TVs?
Sam only does TikTok.
Oh, TV shows. Yes,
Shows.
I have. Oh, yes, I have two for you. I have two.
All right.
One, have you guys watched Landman yet?
Yes, so good.
Oh, God.
Fabulous. You're not into Landman, but it's Texas oil. It's all the things you like.
I know it's Texas oil, and it's literally the same plot of Yellowstone. It's like,
But it's
here's the
better.
cowboy. They're fighting over land, blah, blah, blah.
But it's better because it's oil.
Yeah, it is really good.
No, the wife character is great.
Yes, to see Ali Larder back is pretty great.
I also really liked, our trainer introduced us to AP Bio, which is old. But have you guys seen AP Bio?
No.
It's fabulous. It is a spin out, or the same character, the Dennis system from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's like his show. Lauren Michaels produced it. Fabulous. So you got your hour-long Landman and your half-hour AP Bio is what I got for you.
All right. Dave, your recommendations for the people?
No, I just think Nikki Glaser was robbed at the Golden Globes, and that, I love Ali Wong, but Nikki Glaser's stand-up was like way better than Ali Wong's. So I think the Golden Globe should have gone to Nikki Glaser, and she proved it in hosting the Golden Globes.
All right. And my pop culture is going to be that the Texas Longhorns are in the semifinals playing this week to go to the college football
Is that
playoffs.
soccer?
That would be football. That would be football, Sam.
Football, Sam.
We're down to the semifinals. This is the first year that college football has done like a real playoff bracket. So we're in the final four, Sam, just to give you a basketball analogy. And I think it's been really interesting this year. I'm more college football playoff brackets for future years. Dave, do you agree?
Yeah, Britt, I'll agree with that. It's cool to see college football doing a bracket championship. Like, it makes it way more interesting.
What a month for Texas. They got content. They've got the content moderators for Facebook and the Longhorns.
And
Landman. It's a Texas year.
Oh my God. This is the year of Texas. Okay,
It's true.
good. This is going well for me.
It's true.
All right, friends. I think we're going to call it at that one and go out on a high note for Texas. Thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to our back channel. Please rate and review this. And we've got a whole new fresh year of content just waiting for you. So make sure to tune in every week.
And by we haven't waited for years, like we're gonna bullshit this every single week.
No,
That's
we're not.
the
No.
content we have for you this year. Are we gonna have some guests? We should have some guests.
We do. We already have one booked. That's what I mean. We've got some stuff going on. Yeah. Secret surprises.
Amazing.
Yeah. We have a guest booked. Jess and I worked
All
on
right.
that. Yeah. All right. Anyways, stay tuned for more surprises, and we'll see you guys back here next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this show, please leave us a virtual high five by rating it and reviewing it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Find more information about each episode in the show notes, and follow us on social media by searching for @MoreOrLess, @DaveMorin, @Lesson, @JLesson, and as for me, I'm @Brit. See you guys next time.